before I started getting actively involved in trying to figure out how to make script for these things, we were getting 20, 30, 40 views. But now we're getting anywhere between 500 and 15,000 views. At the end of the day, if there's something you want to do and you're not doing it because of fear of the unknown, just dive in.
Welcome to Hot Docket, the show where we talk about winning marketing strategies that have built the most successful law firms.
Join us every 2 weeks for the latest trends and tactics to grow your law firm.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Hot Docket podcast. Today, we have on with us Scott Distasio of the Distasio Law Firm, a Tampa personal injury and nursing home abuse / medical malpractice law firm. We're going to be talking about a bunch of things. I know we've got YouTube shorts on the horizon, so we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about what it's like to be trying nursing home abuse cases in Florida, in Tampa, and the difficulties that come along with that, and kind of go from there. Keep it open-ended. I'm
excited because medical malpractice is difficult in Florida, to say the least.
Medical malpractice is hard.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how Scott navigates all that.
Yeah.
So, Scott, do you want to start off by giving us a quick background, why you practice law, how you started your firm, and kind of like your origin story?
Sure. I was in law school in the College of Economics, getting a PhD in economics, and decided that was not for me. Everybody said, you should be a lawyer. So I looked into law school, went, and actually thought I'd do something in the line of mergers and acquisitions. But it's about the time of a kind of a market dip. I got a interview in Tampa for a summer associate job doing medical malpractice defense work. I really took to it. I enjoyed it and ended up at that law firm for about 10 years. I became the partner in charge of the nursing home abuse and neglect practice in the firm, and about that time, just kind of establishing myself at the 10-year mark, the law firm imploded, and I was left with a choice. Take my clients and move to another law firm, or take the leap to be a plaintiff's personal injury lawyer, having really never done that kind of work before. So I chose to take the leap. I fired all of my clients, couple $1 million with a repeat business, 2 babies at home, and helped start a plaintiff's personal injury law firm in Tampa, Florida. There was 3 of us on laptops and cell phones. We grew that to a pretty big advertising law firm in town, and did that for about 6 years, and decided I really wanted my own shop. I didn't want the bigger advertising platform, and so in 2006 walked away from that practice and started the journey of a solo plaintiff's personal injury law firm. And I really thought that people would come to me with their, small car crash cases, and I'd just kind of be able to finance my firm, because those to me are a more routine type of case. But people knew me in town. You're the guy that does the complex medical cases, the medical malpractice and nursing home, and it was really from the defense side, but they came to me. So here I am. That was in 2006, and 19 years later, built a firm out of it.
This reminds me of Michael Duffy, where he said something along the lines of, he was the guy with the suitcase that everyone just knew if there was a case that was complex on the medical malpractice side, you just went to him, right? And he established that pedigree.
The suitcase was to look busy when he was young.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a certain amount of analytical time and willingness to spend on these types of cases. It's not that car crash cases are easy. It's just that they're more routine and it's predictable. A medical malpractice case, a nursing home abuse and neglect case, you may have 10, 20,000 pages of records. and you have to sort through those records, identify the story, what has happened here, and then you have to identify what are the medical issues, and then you have to find medical experts to testify about those things. And it's a complex, long journey, and quite frankly, a lot of lawyers are not interested in putting in that kind of work for the result. And the risks are huge, but the rewards are also huge too.
Not to mention the cost on the expert side that you don't have quite as much of on the personal injury side. And med-mal, the prices add up quick.
Absolutely. You can be carrying anywhere from $25,000 to $200,000 in costs in a file, and working it, they're a longer cycle, working it for, anywhere from a year to 5 years, carrying those costs and believing in your client and your case enough to, if they don't pay you, take the risk to stand in front of a jury and potentially losing that time and money and those costs. It's substantial risk, but when it works out, there's substantial reward.
Are you currently using any AI tooling for the analysis and summarization on your medical records?
We have looked into it, and for car crash cases, it works. But the difference is that when you're talking about a car crash case, you're talking about the person's injury, and did it pre-exist? And then from the time of the event forward, what is it? It's very easy to program AI to do that because you're looking for certain things. When you're talking about a complex medical malpractice case, there's judgment and decision making in as you're looking at the records and putting your chronology together that, in my opinion, AI is not quite there. So do you use it to maybe look at certain topics? Yes, but to put together a detailed chronology about what happened, I just don't think it's there yet, because it takes human judgment and decision making as you're looking at the records, what is important and what's not. And I've just not come across the ability to pre-program that, because it changes as the information that you're looking at, what you thought was important turns out not to be, and something else turns out to be more important as you're going through the records.
There was one really concrete use case that I was given a demo on for nursing home abuse specifically, for one narrow circumstance.
Was it pressure ulcers?
It was pressure ulcer. Well, yeah, stage 4 bed sore. I think bed sore. I don't know
Same
if that is
thing.
pressure.
That's
sore,
the same thing.
Yeah. So they were saying specifically there is standards of care around, how often you must rotate or whatever, turn a client. Yeah. And so using AI to interrogate the medical records to basically look for when was the patient turned, were they turned in, in line with what is expected based on standard of care, and that for that very narrow use case, AI was a good solution.
Absolutely, and that's what I mean. To do an entire chronology, no, but to say, okay, here's a person that needs to be turned and repositioned. Were they turning and repositioning? Program it to look for those things, and then say, in the care plan, are they properly care planning for it? Yeah, absolutely. I think you can do that because you've identified specific things that you're looking for. But when you're looking at that gives you that data point. But now let's say that person is malnourished. Let's say there's issues in the nurse's notes that they need to provide fluid to that person. You're not going to know that until you get into the chronology and then start looking at it. So that's what I mean by a total chronology. I just personally don't see it happening, but if you focus it on an issue, it'll give you those solutions. But it's still going to take human interaction to kind of put all that together and put it into a theme for your case.
You might not be saying this, but what I'm hearing you say is that you feel that lawyers might be too quick to use AI today.
Absolutely. I think there's this big rush, and I think that it has a lot of potential, but I think it's a mistake to just rely on it. I think there are use cases for it, and I think as the technology continues to improve, it's going to be there. But my personal experience is I'm just not going to hand it to AI and say, here, give me a product and go run with it. I'm just not going to do that.
I think that's fair. But I do want to talk about things that are working for you. So at the start of this, we said we're going to talk about YouTube Shorts. How are YouTube Shorts working?
You know, the landscape of digital marketing is just rapidly changing today, right? I mean, you used to have your SEO, and you used to be able to just reliably count on organic if you're putting it into the proper perspective and putting the right money and have the right vendor. You used to be able to rely on ads of certain types, but everything is so fragmented now, and the AI is starting to change the way that SEO is working. And so we have decided as a firm to just dive into YouTube Shorts, and it's a new project, but it's been fun. We come up with topics, we videotape them, and have an editor that edits, and believe it or not, I get a little excited when I go, look, how is that short doing? Why isn't that one working? Why is that one is working? And so it's kind of a bit of a passion a project right now. It has developed some inquiries, and we've signed up a case, but it's not to the point yet from our endeavor to say it's a hugely profitable investment, but I think over time it will be.
That is also a hard thing to delegate to an agency, because you're the guy that's going to be in the videos, or at least another attorney at the firm. So there's always that bottleneck of it's both labor and time intensive.
Exactly. I have done, we've done it for a while and done it wrong, and it's been relying on other people. And I'm just that kind of guy that if it's not working out, I'll spend my nights and weekends figuring it out. So, I did that with organic when the website wasn't working. I'm starting to do it with the YouTube Shorts, and I'm hopeful that project will work out. But I do agree. You have to, I spend time on scripts. I spend time looking at the short before it goes out and making comments. I enjoy it, so that's a benefit. But at some point, you want it to be the kind of profitable thing that it's not only fun, but it makes money for you.
Can you give some examples of shorts that you've run recently?
Yeah. Are all personal injury lawyers evil? Got little horns on my head as it starts, and go into, like, I take $20, $40, $50, $100,000 of my money, and I invest it in depositions and experts, and take work for 2 years, 4 years on the hope that 6 people in a room are going to pay me. Who would do that to blackmail somebody into settling a case? Would you work for free for 2 or 3 years, maybe pay your boss to do it, and on the hopes you're going to get your money back plus a good salary? I just don't know anybody who would do that. And then, poor little angels appearing on my head.
Love it.
That's one example.
Love it. Yeah, that's great. And what's your viewership been like on those videos? Before I started getting actively involved in trying to figure out how to make scripts for these things, we were getting 20, 30, 40 views. But now we're getting anywhere between 500 and 15,000 views, and that's been, over the last month that I've kind of delved into it, and I'm hopeful as we continue that'll improve. And is crossover into like Instagram and TikTok on your horizon?
Yeah. So we take that short, we put it on YouTube, we put it on Instagram, we put it on TikTok, we put it on X. I always have to say that, X. And then we've been starting to put it onto LinkedIn as well. And I know it's not necessarily the platform for it, but people have been receptive.
Which video got the 15,000 views? Was that the Our Attorney's Evil?
No. Amazon lawsuit. Basically, Amazon has this practice of taking their name, plastering it on a van, having the driver have an Amazon out uniform, and the packages are Amazon, and that van hits somebody in the neighborhood and catastrophically hurts them, and then Amazon says, "Not my responsibility. That was an independent contractor over there. You got to sue them. It's not our fault." And so kind of put together a story and then talked about the right to control and the legal aspects of it. People really took to that. I mean, not only was it 15,000 views, but the comments back and forth. I can't believe Amazon did this. Of course, they should be responsible. They're making the money. They should be held accountable. Yeah, it's kind of like the things that you think are people are going to be interested aren't, but the things that they are afterward, you see that whole aspect of Amazon trying to get out of responsibility really resonated with people.
I think there's a really interesting learning in that, where as a smaller firm, you've got to find those hooks where you can compete with bigger firms. And Andrew brought up one interesting point. It's going to be you that's on, that's really the one that's got to shoot these, not your fancy agency, not your fancy internal team. It's you. And that doesn't scale as firms scale. Time becomes thinner. So you can do that when you're small. You can find topics that generate buzz regardless of production quality. It doesn't have to be the highest production quality. It's just about finding topics that resonate. So I think you're approaching it in a really intelligent way that other small firms can look to and like take inspiration from, that you can find viewership without putting $100,000 a month marketing budget behind it.
That said, I'm curious to see if you've taken the ones that have worked well. Have you tried to tweak it and make a version that is an ad to then promote it on all of these platforms?
No, we've thought about it, but my experience in the Tampa Bay market is that it is highly saturated. And my experience is that personal injury is an unsought service. You don't know when you're going to need it. And so direct advertising is very expensive to expect that that's going to bring in a case. What works for advertisers is branding, because you don't know when that event is going to happen, and you want that person to know your brand when it does. And that is a very expensive thing in the Tampa Bay market, so I have not really ventured into any sort of advertising because of my feelings about that. I'm not saying that I'm right, but that's just my intuition. So it would be interesting for somebody could say to me, here's how we would do that and take that short and make it into some sort of advertisement, but I would have to be pretty convinced that there'd be some sort of ROI, because I have sunk money into advertising in this market, and there's just a floor. I mean, you've got Morgan & Morgan spending tens of millions of dollars. You've got all these regional advertisers. We have people coming in from Miami opening offices, people coming in from Jacksonville opening offices, and you can spend your way to the poorhouse if you don't know what you're doing. I learned that in 2000 when I left being a defense lawyer. We set up that plaintiff's personal injury law firm, and we're advertising for about 6 years. And I don't want to carry that overhead, and I don't want to take that risk, because I'd rather sink my time and my money into my cases.
I think that's definitely best for clients, and probably best for you at the end of the day too. Any closing thoughts, Scott? Anything that you'd like, audience folks to take away, or any advice for young lawyers?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, if there's something you want to do and you're not doing it because of fear of the unknown, just dive in. I mean, I left a very lucrative defense practice that I could have, stayed at for the rest of my life. The firm had crashed, but I could have moved into another firm, but I was unhappy. I left not knowing where I was going to go or how I was going to make it work, with 2 babies at home, and helped start a law firm. I then left that law firm when it became clear I didn't want to be part of a big advertising machine, into the unknown, without any idea of how I was going to run a plaintiff's firm and be the lawyer. And you know what? It all worked out, and I'm happy. I'm not saying it's going to work out from everybody, but it's that Teddy Roosevelt, be the man in the arena. It doesn't matter that you get knocked down. It doesn't matter that you get up and you get knocked down again, because you don't want to be that guy sitting on the couch looking back and saying, I coulda, woulda, shoulda. Just do it.
Love it. Just do it. Nike and Scott. Okay, perfect. Well, that was a great episode. Thanks for joining us today, Scott. We'll put all the relevant links in the show notes so everyone can access it. And see y'all on the next Hot Docket. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Hot Docket. We're your hosts, Bobby and Andrew, founders of MeanPug, the marketing agency for ambitious law firms.
Have questions about marketing or anything we covered today? Email us at mark@meanpug.com. Be sure to subscribe to learn more. Until next time.